Good morning and welcome to Atlantic Television Network. This is a special edition of the Atlantic Saturday experience right here on Atlantic Television Network. I am Naira Fakai. I hope you're having a good day so far. The weekend is upon us and I hope you're doing everything you can to enjoy your weekend. I'll give you this for free. Please, this weekend, surprise your liver, drink a lot of water and stay safe. Straight to today's stories. Government agencies must provide suitable environment for businesses. Vice President Osibanjo says this. And also we're going to look a little into the Twitter ban lifted. A few Nigerians have said that there is an undertone or there is a concern for the government in this. Now Buhari says he has given his best to Nigeria, and a whole lot of Nigerians beg to differ. And also we will talk about Charles Soludo and his move to take over the Anambra State government, and he has set up an 18-member transition committee headed by Obi Ezekwesili. It's just going to be an interesting run with us. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, of course, our guests will get into our conversation with us this morning. This is Atlantic Television Network. President Professor Yemi Osibanjo on Thursday at the Leadership Enhancement and Development Program, special lecture for members of federal government civil service in Abuja, said that the role of the government's agencies as licensors, regulators, revenue generators only makes sense when operators understand that the bigger picture is to provide the most auspicious environment for the private and the non-government sectors to operate. And he pointed out that Nigerians' future development is dependent on the efficacy of public service. In his speech, he noted that everything that happens in the public service has an impact on the lives, livelihood, and the future of our country. Also, in his request that requisite skills required to ensure development be groomed, he stated that the strategic thinker must know that we are called to tend not to strangle the goose that lays the golden egg. And this approach applies to every component of government policy, and not just the economy. And that's our first story we are looking into today. The position of the vice president is one that every business person in Nigeria should be excited about. If you consider the cost of doing business in Nigeria, there's a lot to it. First of all, you would have to go through some bottlenecks when it comes to certifications, when it comes to getting some form of confirmation from regulatory bodies, or even when it comes to just power supply and the likes. So there are many things that comes together to affect the way businesses are done in Nigeria. In the studio with me today, I have a guest. He is a journalist and also he is a social commentator. Kingsley Izejobi. Welcome. Good morning, sir. I hope you're having a good day today. Okay, so we'll be talking about a few topics on our lineup, and this first one, our vice president's position. He is talking to the people in public service, and as it is said, a lot of people blame the government for things not working well, but a lot of us also know that people in the public sector, they also have the way they approach things, resumption of work, bottlenecks when it comes to some kind of papers being signed or stuff like that. So somehow in his picture or in his narrative, it suggests that everybody has a role to play. So it's not just the federal government. What's your take on this, sir?
Thank you very much. The Vice President, the future will take on the department, based on the fact that oftentimes the attitude of responsibility is employees and shown that most of the people who work in government agencies and parastatals are not really committed to doing their job. What they are just there is to earn their salary and then earn a living and then go away. They are not concerned about delivering quality service to their clients. They're not concerned about making sure that things work optimally. They are more concerned about, well, I'm there. If it works, fine. If it doesn't work, then there's no problem. If you want to have a very clear understanding of how bad the situation is, you just take a visit to the federal secretariat here in Port Harcourt. You will notice that most of if you go to that complex that is about 8-story building, if you go there, and the houses almost all the government agencies and parastatals, if you go there, you will just notice that there are just few offices that are working. The licensing office, the customs office, and probably one or two educational parastatals, probably maybe WIAC or NICO or something, or Ministry of Education or something. Those are the ones that are working. But when you go to the Ministry of Works, you go to the Ministry of Agriculture, you go to other ministries and parastatals, you discover that the directors will not be there, and because the directors are not there, the workers will not come. They will only come when they know that the director is coming. So what the vice president is saying is like restating the obvious. That's on one side. Then the other side is that those who choose to serve Nigeria as presidents, as governors, as local government, in fact in any public office, should know that it is not just answering the name, it's not just occupying the office. It has to do with also making sure that all those who work under you are doing what they are supposed to do as and when due. If you are a director in the Ministry of Works, for instance, you don't come to work until about 10 or 11. You have no moral justification to compel those under you to come to work by 8. That's one. It's just a simple fact. Another factor to also consider is the pattern of recruitment of those who work in government parastatals and agencies. If those who work in government parastatals and agencies are recruited the normal way that recruitment are done, that is, you see an advert, you send an application, you are called for an interview, you are given some assignment to do, and at the end of the day you are congratulated and you are told, okay, you have qualified to be employed. So, let us give you this particular place to work in. You know that you have no godfather anywhere, you have no backbone anywhere, you just got in there based on what you can do. If that is how majority of those who work in government parastatals are employed, then we won't have, the vice president will not have any reason to be talking like this, because you will know that if you are employed without having to know anybody, it also means that you can also be fired without the consent of anybody. Well, because you are employed by the notes given by somebody, before you are fired, they will call the person who brought the note to say, Oga, this your boy is not trying, Oga, this your girl is not trying. And it's even worse, because government job is termed to be secured. Job security is guaranteed. It's only in government parastatal that you'll be fired and then you go to court. And then court will now say, no, you are not properly fired. And I ask a question, what is being properly fired in the first place? That somebody is given a job to do and the person failed to do his job, and then the person is fired, you're saying it's not properly fired. What do you mean by it's not being properly fired? So if you don't remove all of these things, this issue of ease of doing business will continue to suffer the delay. It will continue to suffer deprivation, it will continue to suffer unnecessary drawbacks. So government should step up a little bit. Politicians should stop playing politics with civil service. It is when you play politics with civil service, the civil servants will, on their own, also take it further, by taking their time in doing what ordinarily they should do. For instance, I have a family friend who, during the heat of COVID-19, need to bury somebody. Their mom died and she needs to be buried, and then there is need for us to get death certificate showing that the person did not die out of COVID-19, so that the normal process will take. The corpse was supposed to leave Port Harcourt to Akwa Ibom State by 7 in the morning. It was that 7 in the morning that we were told, we have not gotten this. The Commissioner of Health have not signed the death certificate showing that the person did not die of COVID-19. Okay, fine and good. Okay, let us go to the Ministry of Health so that the Commissioner can sign. And lo and behold, we went to the Ministry of Health from 7 o'clock in the morning till about 2 p.m. The Commissioner was not there to be found. In fact, we had to, it took the intervention of a Reverend Father to drive the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Health to the Commissioner's residence before that those papers could be signed. And if, assuming this is an investment that somebody wanted to do, assuming it's a business that you wanted to do, and they are waiting for somebody to put down his signature on your document so that your business can be valid, you just notice that the business is already facing a setback already, because that is not the first, it's not going to be the end of it, because from time to time, so your business grows, you need government approval on certain things to be able to get your business going. So I think that two things: those who are employed in government parastatal should know that it is an opportunity for them to contribute to the betterment of humanity. They should do it with utmost sincerity, do it as if it's their own private business. And then those who are employing them should also know that for every employment, there is a responsibility, there is an action that can be taken against anybody who fails to meet up to his or her responsibility. So if governments continue to be lenient on allowing the hammer to fall on erring civil servants, then all the talks about ease of doing business, all the decrees that have been sent, all the orders that have been issued by the president will just amount to nothing, because there is no enforcement. So I think that the thing is that let there be proper enforcement, and let those who are also employed take it as their own private business. That way, everybody will have a better way or a better lease of life in this country.
Okay, I like the way you put it. I see a picture suggesting trickle down of disregard for service here, because of course, if a person who is on top does not show up, who is to enforce that every other person should show up? And this is where that mystery is, and I want to just take a few minutes to demystify this thing. A lot of us know that some of these people, or some people who are appointed into office, suddenly stop being available. You know that this office is there. In some cases, some of these foreign parastatals, you can rarely come and say, these are the office hours of the director. I can come here at XYZ time and I will see this person. We don't have any information whether they are working remotely, and I don't think you can tell Nigerians that these people are always in important meetings 247. So when you talk about enforcing, I would ask, what can this government do to start enforcing from top? Because if the vice president is saying this, it means it should be able to trickle down. It should be able to trickle down from the federal level. We should see some form of accountability that is expected of people in leadership, because as you have rightfully pointed out, they are the ones who mirror on the people who are staff. When they know that Oga is not going to show up, there's no need to come in and do the eye service and clean the office and the likes. So what checks are there? What checks ought to be put in place to ensure that leadership, the proper kind of leadership and service, is achieved in the public sector?
To start with, the process of selection of these leaders is very important. In fact, Nigerians have done well in every facet of human endeavor. But the only way, or the only place we are still lacking behind, is in the selection of our public officers, selection of our leaders. Now, if those who are employed by those that were employed, as citizens, we employ the president, the governor, the legislators, and all the lawmakers, and what have you. We employ them by our vote. Now, these people that we employ, we are giving them the mandate to say, okay, gather people who can work with you to deliver on XYZ promises that you made. On XYZ promises that you made. Now, if they refuse to abide by what we have told them to do, we should be able to go back after 2 years, after 3 years, after 4 years to say, hey, come, Mr. Man, we asked you to do XYZ and you refuse to do it. Therefore, you are fired. How do we do that? By our vote. We vote them out and then vote in people who would be loyal. Now, if these persons know that by not enforcing the disciplinary measures that are laid down in the civil service rules on the workers, by failing to ensure that those who come to work late are disciplined, by failing to ensure that those who fail to do their job as and when due are disciplined, that the generality of the masses will turn against them during the election to vote them out. It is not somebody that will tell them to do what they are supposed to do. So I am saying that the first way, the best way is that the process of selection of our leaders, we should get it right. If we get it right, those who are elected will listen to us. That's one. Then those who have been elected should get the other arms of government working. Somebody should be able to go to the Ministry of Education, for instance, in the federal secretariat there in Port Harcourt, and he or she didn't get the service that he or she requires. The person should be able to walk into the court and say, I went there to go and do XYZ and I was not attended to. The court should compel them to attend to me. But the judiciary will not be there to give you that kind of listening ear. Before you even get a lawyer yourself, only God knows how long you are going to go to the Ministry of Justice to be able to get a lawyer assigned to you. And even when the lawyer is assigned to you, you are compelled to either pay transportation fee or you are compelled to pay whatever amount. And at the end of the day, you discover that what you are paying the lawyer is even more than enough to fix what you wanted to do in that Ministry of Education in the private office. So let the process of selection of our leaders be. Let us get it right. Let Nigerians take it upon themselves to be concerned about those who are our leaders. That's one. If we are concerned about those who are our leaders, then we will elect those who will listen to us. Those ones that will listen to us, we will now tell them what to tell the workers that they are going to employ. Because if you don't have the right kind of workers, if you don't have the right kind of environment, your output will definitely be very, very poor. And that is why Nigeria is being ranked as a third world country, underdeveloped country. It's simply because those who are occupying the developmental offices in Nigeria are not embarking on developmental projects. They are just there to take their salaries and then they are just there to fulfill the quota. 25% must go to the southeast, 30% must go to the northwest, and what have you. So we are just there to complete that quota. Once we complete the quota, we are okay. Whether we deliver the dividends or not, whether our productivity is optimal or not, is not our business. Our business is that we must fulfill the quota, and that is what is keeping us where we are. So if we have good leaders who are listening to us, we'll be able to tell them what to do on those who are not working very well. And because this is happening in private sector. It happens in private sectors. If you are not functioning very well, the MD will not look at you 2 times. The man will just get you fired and then get in another person to fill in the position. And that is how those who are employed are made to live up to their responsibilities. I don't want to go into the issue of going to court or trying to protest and what have you. If we're able to get our process of leadership selection in this country right, every other thing will fall into place.
Okay, if we're able to get our process of selection right, every other thing will fall into place. Just in case you just checked in, you are on Atlantic Television Network Saturday Jan, and today we're talking through very interesting conversations. First, the topic on our lineup today, the Vice President and his position on ease of doing business. Our pundit in the studio has pointed out a few things, but the position that stands out is if our leadership, if we appoint the right kind of leadership and the people who are in leadership can be told what ought to be or what to do, that transfer of information and what the people need can trickle down to the people that they hire. Okay, we're going on a short break right now. When we come back, of course, we'll get on to our second story. Twitter finally resumes operation in Nigeria. Do not go anywhere. Jabari, and you are welcome. On to our next story. Twitter finally resumes operation in Nigeria after lifting of the ban placed by the federal government on the 5th of June 2021, after the platform took down a tweet by the President Major General Muhammad Buhari, which it claims violated its community rules. Now, just here are the conditions the federal government detailed out for Twitter, and these conditions have to be met for the ban to be lifted, so I believe it has been met. Number one, Twitter will establish a legal presence in the West African country of Nigeria and register with the Corporate Affairs Commission in the first quarter of 2022. Now, the establishment of the entity Twitter in Nigeria is the first step in the long-term commitment to Nigeria as it is. And the second point is the appointment of a country representative to interface with the global public policy team through dedicated channels. The third condition is compliance to applicable tax obligations according to revenue generated with running businesses in the country. And of course, the fourth condition is access to manage prohibited content. This means inclusion of a direct channel of government officials and Twitter to manage prohibited content that violates Twitter community rules. Also, law enforcement agencies get to submit a report with a legal justification where it suspects that the content violates Nigerian laws. Now, Twitter activities in Nigeria are to be respectful to the national culture and history and the laws of Nigeria. However, there is a twist to this story. A lot of Nigerians have gone online to point out that this ban by the Twitter lifted now is more or less like a political ploy, because they believe that a few people who have tweeted have pointed out that the government in place, or a few politicians who have pushed for this ban to be lifted now, are looking to use the vehicle of Twitter for campaign. So it's timely, it's just right, and all the needed clauses to allow them leverage on Twitter for campaign is there. Now, that's what Nigerians are suggesting, but I'll let my pundit in the studio today give me an insight, his insight to this. I still have Kingsley Izejobi in the studio with me this morning. Kingsley?
Environments in Nigeria are attractive. You don't need to tell Twitter, or you don't need to compel Twitter. You don't need to say, part of the conditions for you to operate in Nigeria is for you to have an office in Nigeria. You don't need to do all that. They will simply stroll into the country to establish an office. Before the ban was even placed initially, I had expected the federal government to argue on the strength of the fact of the number of persons who are using Twitter in Nigeria, to say that you have over 40 million Nigerians using Twitter. And if you have 40 million subscribers to your network, even if they are giving you one Naira every day, it means 40 million Naira revenue on daily basis. That's what they are giving to you. So if you are making 40 million Naira from our country on daily basis, then there is no reason why you should not have an office here. That should have been the argument in the first place. If you remember, before the ban even was placed, there was this argument about whether Twitter should establish its West African office in Nigeria or in Ghana. And at the end of the day, the social media giant chose Ghana over Nigeria. So, and I think government should have argued on that. Bring your office to Nigeria, Because one, we have more subscribers in Nigeria than you have in Ghana. You make more money in Nigeria than you make in Ghana. And then whatever business environment you want, we will create it so that you operate from here because of the number of subscribers we have. We can't be subscribing and then you are using the gains you are making from our subscription to go and develop other countries. So I think that government still has a lot to do by providing the enabling environment for businesses to thrive. This current administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, part of the economic policy that was a policy that were introduced by him was the devaluation of the Naira. The Naira, we were told, was devalued so that foreign investors, in order to be able to attract foreign investors. But from 6 years down the line, you will notice that the foreign investors are not they are not forthcoming, and even if they are coming with some kind of plans or programs that are not trickling down to the ordinary man on the street. And so, but the devaluation of Naira, the effect of the devaluation of the Naira is being felt by the ordinary man on the street. But for the purpose of the reason for which the Naira was devalued, the impact, the positive impact, is not being felt by the ordinary man on the street. So you discover that policy was one-sided. People like Twitter and other social media giants, government should compel them, not by way of making this type of conditions, but by making the operational environment very, 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 very conducive, so that they too can see that yes, we have the market, we have over 200 million, or we have over 100 million people who can use Twitter in Nigeria. We have over 100 million people who can use Facebook. We have over 100 million people who can use Instagram. It's a question of whether they are using it. Whether they are using it or not is another thing, but we have that potential to give Twitter 100 million subscribers in Nigeria. So if we can give you 100 million subscribers, it is also our responsibility to create the environment for you to come in to do your business in Nigeria, and so it will not become a win-win situation. You win and Nigerians also win. But coming to put this type of conditions, I think it may not achieve the desired result if the enabling environment is not created. And of course, those who say it's a political game, they want to use it to do campaigns and what have you. Well, I don't know where they're getting their facts from, but I also want to say that they may not be far from the truth, because politicians can always Nigerians are very docile people. Politicians can ride us at any point in time, so they might have decided to lift the ban on Twitter so that Nigerians can use it to advance the interests of a particular certain politician, because 2023 is around the corner. So I think that all these conditions listed by federal government can be adhered to if the federal government is also ready to make the operational environment very, very conducive. Also, just note that Twitter is a global brand. Their conditions are set for the global audience, not just Nigeria. So that thing that you think is not respecting the culture of Nigeria may not mean anything in other climes outside of here. So it's something that they need to keep on dialoguing and keep on. The area that interests me most is that they should have an office, so that by having an office they should be paying tax to the federal government. I think that area is very, very important. But then they will not have an office if the environment to have an office is not very conducive, if security is not fixed, if the roads are not there, if the power generation is not there, if they are, as mean they're in Ghana for instance, and they are spending $5,000 annually to fuel their generator or to provide power to them for their operations, and then you bring them to Nigeria and they begin to spend $50,000 just because of the epileptic nature of our power supply, then I don't think they will be able to survive here in Nigeria. So they will simply say, okay, well, we can decide to make those who are in Nigeria not to use Twitter. They can decide to yank off all those who are in Nigeria from using Twitter. So it's neither here nor there. So I think the government should get its acts in order, provide the enabling environment, and then these persons will rush into the country because the market is here.
Okay, I like how you put it. The market is there, and because you've also pointed out that the market is there, I was going to ask this now. You've touched a little bit about taxing, and this is a big deal for Nigerians. Do you think that they have figured out proper proper modalities as to taxing Twitter and the way they operate in Nigeria? What systems are in place for us to say this is the proper taxing protocol?
I think that the federal government and the federal government have taxing policies. I am not a tax expert. I wouldn't know how they measure out what they tax who and how they do it. I am not expert in that area. But I think that federal government have certain modalities in place to tax people based on the kind of business they do. Those who do online business and operate from Nigeria, government knows how to tax them. Those who have physical structure and operate businesses physically in Nigeria, government knows how to tax them. So my concern is that let the process of establishing an office by any multinational company, any foreign agency, let the process of establishing an office in Nigeria be seamless. Let it be seamless. Let it be devoid of any encumbrances. Let it be that you just walk in, you go to office A, and I need XYZ, and it's provided for you. You go to office B, I need XYZ, is provided for you. You go to the next office, everything you need to start your job is provided. And of course, as the documents you need, as they are being provided, you're also being told that for getting this document, you are paying XYZ. For getting this document, you are paying like this. For establishing your business, this is your tax, this is the tax that you are expected to pay, and all of those things. Let it be seamless. If it is seamless, these foreign agencies will come in, because at the end of the day, if they come in to establish their presence here in Nigeria, they have those who are going to consume whatever product they are going to be thrown out into the market. There is no product that you bring into this country that is not going to sell. Any product you bring into this country will have those who will buy it. So the market is not the problem. The problem is the process of getting them into this country. And that is where I keep saying that government should do a lot of work in that area, so that bringing people into this country for the purpose of establishing any business shouldn't be hard. Let them come in. When they come in, it's like when you are telling somebody to come into the studio. If somebody comes into the studio, you can decide to lock the door, so that you now begin to negotiate with the person when the person will leave the studio. So let them come in, and then you begin to negotiate about how much they're going to pay about tax. And from there, by the time they see the kind of market they have here, and then you tell them, okay, your tax is based on the market that is available. It's not any business person will say, okay, fine, if I'm going to get XYZ revenue and my tax is about 10% of 100 million, that's about 90 million, you're still in business.
Okay. I like how you put it, you're still in business, and it is a breath of fresh air that we know that we are still in business. Nigerians are excited about getting back online and tweeting. And remember, Atlantic Television Network, we are also online. So we'll be giving you a little bit of a follow-up on everything that happens every now and then on our Twitter handle. So you should just follow us. The handle will be displayed, and you can follow us, send in a message or two, and we'll look at. Next on our discussion today, Buhari says he has done enough. He has done his best, rather. Do you think so? We're also going to talk about Charles Soludo and his appointment of a member transition committee. But we'll do that after the break. Do not go anywhere. This is still Atlantic Television Network, and this is Atn Saturday. welcome back to Atn Saturday. I'm Naira Fakai, and next on our story, Charles Soludo appoints Obi Ezekwesili as head of 18-member transition committee in a statement titled Anambra 2022 Governorship Transition Committee. The governor-elect of Anambra State, that's Professor Charles Soludo, says this 80-member transition committee to be headed by Obi Ezekwesili will liaise with a team set up by the government of Anambra State to ensure seamless transition from the Governor Willie Obiano's administration to a Chukuma Charles Soludo-led administration as from the 17th of March 2022. Now, the transition committee is made up of technocrats, captains of industries, and political and industry professionals. The list is long and extensive, and it is a different approach. Nigerians have said, considering the fact that it's rarely done like this. You would see ahead of time someone steps up with this kind of team put together, saying they will handle transition. Now, if you know, transition has always been a challenge for Nigerians, as it is people get into government and they sort of just carry on with new stuff, what they want to do, and they rarely go back to ensure that what has been put in place or something that is in the corner has been handled properly. So it is looking like Anambra State will have a breath of fresh air with the former governor of CBN and his move to lead the state. But in the studio with me today, I'll let my pundit look into it. I still have Kingsley EZGOB. I believe that's correct. Yes. So, Kingsley, you are from the East, and it looks like some people would say this is an interesting way to start a government. This is an interesting way to show that you are ready to lead the people. And it's not just by saying you are ready. The crop of people that have been put together on this list is very, very fascinating. What do you think Governor Charles Soludo has in place, or what do you think he has in plan putting such a team together?
Thank you. Well, I saw the list of the 80-man transition committee as announced by Charles Soludo, and I like to start by commending him for taking that kind of step, given the quality of persons in that committee. But then I am also worried about the number. If you have like, there is this a common saying that so many hands spoils a pot of soup. When you have too many persons who knows and you ask them to do a simple task, you will discover that at the end of the day that task may not be properly done. Why? Because all the people that are in that committee are all notable people. They all know what each other know. So I would have loved a situation where a few technocrats are appointed, and then the other ones from the grassroots who will take instruction, because getting any task done, getting any job done and properly done is a function of having someone who knows and then getting others to follow the person who knows. When you have too many persons who knows, it becomes difficult for you to follow. You can't follow somebody that you think that you know more than. It's very difficult. So I would have loved the situation where the technocrats are few and they are made up of party members, maybe some persons who have distinguished themselves in the private sector, trying to manage a kind of harmonization program, because this is about harmonization of the outgoing government and then the incoming government. So this number of technocrats, 80 of them, just for transition purposes. I don't want to look at it from the point of the financial implication on Anambra State, because when you are gathering people, the heavyweights, 80 of them, they are not going to be sitting only once. They are going to sit for several times. They are going to sit. They are going to be. And none of them, and all of them are not based in Anambra State. So if you're going to bring in people like Olusegun that is on that list and some other person that are on the list, you're going to bring them from wherever they are based to Anambra State to come and sit and have a discussion on how to have a seamless transition. It's going to cost a fortune on the Anambra State government. And Anambra State, I'm not sure, is one of the richest in Nigeria. So I would have loved the situation where the number of transition committee members are cut down, and then the fewer the better. Let us have a few effective persons to carry out this transition program. Then when we now get into governance proper, then you can now begin to bring in as many people as possible to be able, by then you are now giving them what to do to run the government. This is just about transition. So transition has nothing to, that does not affect the life of any common man in the on the street of Anambra State. So the number of persons that you have on that list is good because you have quality persons. But then I think they are just too much.
Okay. As he said it, the fewer the better. He thinks they're just too much. I was looking at it from the angle of diversity. I mean, bringing together technocrats and captains of industry, it's possible that he may have considered every single sector. And
sorry. Bringing in technocrats. For me, I don't think that technocrats are very much needed in transition. I really don't think they are experts. They can just be consultants somewhere. You just call them on the phone and they tell you what one or two things. You can have few of them, 10, 20 of them in that list. And then the other people who were working with Soludo in different places at different points and at different times, who are not in quotes technocrats, can be included in this transition program. They will not be led by the technocrats. It is the technocrats who will design the programs and then ask those of them that are not the technocrats to follow. See, when you have technocrats, they design this program, you ask those who are not technocrats to follow. They will willingly follow and they want to impress you. But when you have all technocrats, so technocrats issuing instruction to technocrats, I don't know how that's going to work out. That's what I mean by the number is too much. Let us have 20 or 30 technocrats. Then the other ones are people who are the foot soldiers, who will follow every instruction, every policy. They will follow it to the letter. That way you have a more effective transition program. But when you have all these technocrats, I'm afraid.
Okay. Well, don't be afraid. He still has a long time to demystify his plans. I mean, looking at the 80-member transition committee of this group of people, somewhere in the narrative, I feel that some of these people are going to be working with him through government. The way it's looking, because it's transition, and you bring in technocrats. Those people are supposed to think through what has been done before and find a way to solidify whatever policy plans you have and where you're going. So if the transition committee is in place, what we know is the reward for good work is more work. If they do more work, if they do good work, don't you think that a lot of these people will be needed to run his government, and this is just a way for him to introduce them into the system?
Well, if you will pardon me, I would like to go back to a certain football club in Europe called Real Madrid. And I remember that there was a time they were referred to as the Galacticos. The Galacticos, they are given that title because they have in their team all the anybody that qualified to be a good footballer at that point. But the progress they made with the Galacticos was not commensurate with the number of persons that were in that team. So it was more like a show where you have people like David Beckham, Roberto Carlos, and what have you. Have all of them in that team, but they were not winning trophies. They were not winning titles. They were just for business aspect of football. In the same way, these persons that have been so assembled a few of them that I know their names. I'm just wondering whether they will be humble enough to take up appointment as special advisors, take appointment as commissioners, take appointment as directors of government agencies and parastatals in a state like Anambra State, given the level, given the height they have attained globally. So when you gather them together and giving them assignments becomes an issue, you now discover that you might find a situation whereby you have a lot of people around you, but nobody wants to do what you want them to do. As a governor, you are the one who, the buck stops on your desk. You are the one who decides who does what. So, if the person you are telling to do XYZ is also telling you that I am too big for this or I am too small for this, then you know that you are having a problem already. So that's why I said it is better for me to have people who are loyal by virtue of the fact that they are looking up to me for direction, and not people who even feel that they know more than myself. I am a professor, they are professors. I'm a PhD holder, they are PhD holders. I'm a successful man, a successful banker, they are successful engineers. So all of us are sharing a lot of things in common. So that thing I think I know, they probably know more than me. So, but if you have those who are loyal to you, who are willing to learn from your footsteps, you'll be able to set out the parameters, and then they will follow it as you have laid them down. That does not take away the fact that those who have attained greater heights globally amongst them cannot be consulted. They can be consulted when there is need for them to be consulted. But getting them into the thick of the action, it takes a man who is humble enough, it takes a woman who is humble enough to bend down to take instruction from the governor. So I think that the governor should just behave like a man who is looking for a wife. Get a wife that is loyal, a good wife who is loyal, who listens to you, and then both of you can now reason together to steer the ship of state. But whether we like it or not, what the Anambra people need is not people with high credentials. What they need is to get people who will maintain the status quo and even improve on it. The whole of the Southeast Anambra State seems to be the only state that is up and doing in terms of providing dividends of democracy, good network of roads and what have you. Anambra State seems to be the only one in the Southeast getting it right. So these people that are coming in have no other thing than to up what is on ground, maintain what is on ground, and possibly take it a little bit higher. And for me, I don't think that it's about technocrats. It's about those who are willing to do what they have promised to do, whether they are technocrats or not.
Okay. It's about those willing to do what they promise to do, whether they're technocrats or not. Our pundit in the studio today believes that having a star-studded team is not all that Governor Charles Soludo needs to lead his administration in Anambra State. And it's interesting also to get this view of possible challenge when it comes to settling down to work with the governor. Kingsley believes that he may have issues with these people listening to him, but I also think that a leader should be able to have people who tell him the real truth and not just be loyal, because in this part when we say loyalty, it means I will do what you need me to do and not necessarily raise a brow and insist on my position. And if he has surrounded himself with these people, this is just one last question before I let you go, Kingsley. If he has surrounded himself with these people who are up there, they are not people who can be easily moved because, of course, they have attained their heights. And you are seeing it from the perspective of them also having the challenge of being humble. Don't you think this is a breath of fresh air, being that we also have people who come into power, and their cronies are not people who are known to have achieved so much, people who are known to have managed systems or built industry for themselves. These cronies now come and become part of a government that eventually almost